Candidates for the local general elections, we have Russell Chan and Kendall Fletcher. We have a couple housekeeping rules. Our ladies' rooms are on the left-hand side and the gents are on the right. We don't anticipate any emergency, but should there be, you have exits on either side of the room. May I ask you please to stand for the national anthem. Ask you to remain standing as Simone Kislun comes to pray.
Good evening. As we begin this evening's proceedings, let us pause for a moment, leaving behind all the busyness that has gone before us today, and not looking ahead at all that is still to come. Let us recognize the space you are in. Notice yourself standing with feet firmly on the ground, and become present in this moment with gratitude for being here. Just take a few breaths. In whichever way you are comfortable, join us in prayer for ourselves and others to receive and activate solutions to our nation's serious challenges by bringing your attention now to your heart center, where your truth and God resides. Let us pray. We thank you, Lord, for bringing us safely here this evening as a community of responsible individuals on the same journey, despite our many different paths in life. Allow us to be able to grow closer as a group of concerned citizens and to nurture the bonds of family and country. Dear Lord, we are united here with the common goal of making our country a better and safer one. Instill within each one of us the courage, the sanctity, the know-how, the ability to make the desired changes a reality by steering us to work from the heart, as the human heart is your temple. Please dissolve all unwanted energy and transmute it all into pure light and love. We ask you, Lord, to bless this meeting tonight and to enlighten us with the ability to listen as well as converse. Allow us to listen to each other with open minds and humble hearts. Teach us as a nation to focus less on getting our way and more on loving and respecting each other. As leaders of change, give us the strength to be humble, kind-hearted, and willing to listen to every voice. We thank you, Father, for creating each of us with unique gifts and for gifting some with leadership abilities to help guide our country onto the most appropriate path forward. Help us to work together to build a team that cannot be broken. Guide us to use this time together to help our country thrive, and bless our efforts to peacefully rebuild the safety and sanctity of our beautiful nation. Protect our families from harm, sickness, and discouragement, and grant us, O Lord, the wisdom to lead with heart, to speak with heart, and to work from the heart, as that is where your divine grace resides. Bless our nation and inspired team with divine wisdom, peace, abundance, health, love, balance, order, and intellect to help defend our nation from all evil. Amen. Amen. Om Shanti, 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 Ashe.
You may be seated. And it gives us great pleasure. This evening you have two hostess. We have our Director of Education, Savita Pear, and myself, I am Christine Uwalo Hussain, and I'm going to hand you over now to Savita. Thank you, Savita.
Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to have each of you here this evening. Your presence signifies a commitment to progress and collaboration. Thank you for joining us as we work together to make a difference in the Diego Martin community and our beautiful nation. So I am given the privilege this evening to welcome our first speaker. His name is Kendall Fletcher. He is a son of the soil. He attended Diego Martin Secondary School and graduated and furthered his studies at Cipriani Labor College. He specialized in security management and administration. With over 15 years of experience in the private security industry, Kendall has also served as a local candidate for local election. Showcasing his commitment to public service, he is dedicated to making positive impact in the Diego Martin region. Kendall is passionate about serving this community. Let's welcome Kendall.
Good evening, political leader, deputy political leader, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. I am Kendall Fletcher. Many of you may already know me as I ran for the local government election 2023 for the constituency of Covin-Rich Plain. I would like to firstly thank everyone that supported me throughout my campaign, all the boots that were on the ground with me, everyone that believed in my vision and the vision of my team. Your concerns didn't fall on deaf ears. This is why this evening I would like to emphasize on our youth. For far too long, youths have been crying out for mentorship and guidance. The Youth National Transformation Alliance and its youth arm, the Youth National Transformation Alliance, live by what we call the LAMP module. Leadership, accountability, management, and measured performance. These are not just fancy words. These words, once used correctly, shape and create a bright future for our youth. Using the LAMP module can provide leadership through mentorship and guidance. Our youth learn to lead by example, inspiring others to follow, whether it may be sport or academic. Effective leadership fosters togetherness. Accountability. By holding ourselves accountable for our action, we create a sense of responsibility and integrity. A mindset like this encourages youth to take ownership of their action. Management is a fundamental discipline that can encourage youth to be aware of every aspect of their lives, helping them grow into model citizens. And measured performance. By showing and encouraging youth to set clear goals, youths can now work on their purpose, ensuring that they measure their performance of decisions being made and make adjustments when necessary, ensuring that each individual reaches their full potential. So, by implementing our module, we can and will be able to make positive changes in the development and growth of our youth. Me, as an individual who strongly believes in the LAMP module, we would not take away from our youth like what is being done by the Red Party, who took away a major community spot which our youth was used on a daily basis and are now charging our same youth who cannot even get a job to use the said facility. The said facility that I am speaking about right now presently is the Diego Martin Sporting Complex. Before that, it was known as the Northern Savannah, where we would have the traditional dog fights, which would be football with the different ages. We would have the Diego Martin Football League. We would have the Mary Boys cricket side using the ground to train. This was taken away from us. This isn't proper development for our youth. This only encourages youth to go to the block and potentially lose their lives. So the question may be asked, how do we plan to upkeep and create and implement youth initiatives, development? And that is simple. By using our LAMP module, we can and will get the job done. Thank you.
Come on, you can do better than that. That's our youth, you know. That is our youth. And we are hearing from our youth, they're speaking about transformation, bright future for the youths, taking ownership. When you think and hear of those words and those activities, you get excited, don't you? Okay, so you're not getting excited. Fine, I am getting excited. And you know, he speaks about the LAMP model. And of course, when you begin to understand that the LAMP model is an umbrella on which you have 8 key components, and of one which I would say would be the people and societal development, which is exactly what it is Kendall is speaking about. Thank you, Kendall, for that dynamic speech. So we are moving on again, and we have here our second speaker, and he is no other than the Director of Finance for our National Transformation Political Party, no other than the bright rising star of Mr. Russell Chan. You would remember Russell. Russell was also our local elections candidate for the Pity Valley Cocoreach area. So you see, we have a lot of great dynamic leaders for Diego Martin, right? Showcasing here tonight. What kind of clap is that? Come on, I need to hear better than that. Sir Russell is a graduate of St. Mary's College. He's known for his accomplishments in business, philanthropy, and politics. He's committed to social responsibility. And so Russell addresses hunger issues through his involvement in a prominent NGO and advocates for equality and justice. He's dedicated to uplifting the Diego Martin community and communities in Trinidad and Tobago. We want to give Russell a warm welcome here to the podium.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. I was looking for an applause sign, but I didn't see it. But thank you so much. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the head table, honored guests, friends and family of the National Transformation Alliance. Welcome to this evening's meeting, where we gather to celebrate and engage. It feels like just yesterday that I was sitting where you are now, attending the launch of this remarkable party in this very building, Today I stand before you with deep honor and gratitude for the opportunity to address you all. My journey in this community began in 2015, during a time of crisis when a devastating flood ravaged our lands. I vividly recall assisting in the cleanup efforts and witnessing firsthand the resilience and spirit of the people. One encounter on a hillside, just up the road from here, in Martin, left an indelible mark on me, a reminder that under pressure, people may falter, but they never lose their determination to safeguard their lives and loved ones. As the former local government candidate for the Pitti Valley Coquerite area, I have had the privilege of meeting incredible individuals who have shown unwavering support and solidarity. Today, I stand before you to urge us all to take a stand, to defend our freedom, democracy, and the future of our children. This land is our home, and it is our collective responsibility to preserve it for generations to come. That's right. Sadly, the neglect of our beloved Martin has persisted for far too long, from inadequate job opportunities to poor infrastructure and environmental degradation. The list of grievances is long and heartbreaking, but I refuse to accept this status quo. If entrusted with the honor of representing you in the next general election, I pledge to be the catalyst for change. Ladies and gentlemen, what I saw in the last election, which I was part of, the areas are lacking serious attention. Where is the love in Martin? The infrastructure is really, really lacking. Poor roads, poor pavements, garbage thrown in places, and it looks like it's the norm. And let's face it, mosquitoes and rats kill. You know, garbage is a serious problem in this community, and why it should not be like that at all. Ladies and gentlemen, we walk the hills. What we've seen in those hills were real lacking. Walls, walls fell down. We had to crawl up under somebody's home just to get to residence, and I believe the problem still exists. If there's an emergency, how will an ambulance get to the residence? How will a fire brigade, how will the fire service get to the residence? These things can be fixed, and there's no reason why in 2024 we are faced with these challenges. I envision a Martin where basic infrastructure works, mitigate the risk of flooding, and safeguard the lives and properties. Through innovative solutions and modern technology, we will address the pressing challenges posed by global warming and neglect. From revamping our roadways to implementing effective waste management systems, no stone will be left unturned in our quest for progress. My vision extends beyond Martin. Under the leadership of our political leader and the NTA, we will usher in a new era of transformation for our entire nation. With a relentless commitment to accountability and problem solving, we will tackle every obstacle head on, leaving no community behind. Ladies and gentlemen, let's face it, my political leader don't play. I will not be in a position, and we will not be in a position where we are lacking, our communities are lacking, for basic essentials. I am sure he will be calling me in the night and telling me, Russell, go and get your backhoe and call Fletcher and let him drive the truck and solve the people's garbage problem. I know my political leader will do that. And I might get some push-ups too. Ladies and gentlemen, when the bell rings, you have the power in your fingers. You stand between democracy and dictatorship. Together, we can vote out this administration. Send them back to school and let them learn an important lesson. Put the people first. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a nation to defend. I thank you and good night.
to think about is why Rowley now want to become a gardener.
Christine, let me tell you what I heard. He wants to become a gardener because he needs to understand how to sow seeds of change.
Well, he needs to understand that the NTA understands change. And so we will introduce our next speaker, Savita.
All right. So our next speaker is known very well within this area. He is Paul Nyos. He is Director of Chief Training Officer of the Blue Line Academy. He brings a distinguished background in security management and law enforcement. He has a master's degree in Homeland Security and a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He is recognized internationally for his work done. He is the alderman for the borough of Diego Martin. He advocates for your community safety, your community infrastructure development, and improve access to essential services to represent the people of Trinidad and Tobago. You want representation? Next election, vote for Paul.
Thank you very much. Political leader, deputy political leaders, members of the executive, and my NTA brothers and sisters here tonight, welcome. I am ecstatic to be here tonight. And I will point out the obvious of why I'm ecstatic to be here. Because 1 year ago, most of us were here. I'm seeing some new faces. Welcome, new faces. Welcome to the family. Let's keep it growing. I am ecstatic because we were here a year ago, before election, as a new party, and we are here a year later with a seat in the heartland of the PNM. I want to give special thanks to the former candidates, and they will take us to victory in the next general election. I thank the candidates and the party for having faith in me to appoint me as your representative and the representative for all the people of Diego Martin. Now, it has not been easy thus far, and I didn't expect it to be, because I am one representative on the council, and there's 13 on the other side. However, given that, I would say I have fostered a very good relationship with all the fellow council members, the fellow aldermen, because we all have to work together. Part of the NTA's message is a message of unity, that to build back a better country, regardless of anything else, including political divide, we need to work together where we have to work together for the betterment of all Trinidadians and Tobagonians. However, I am not one for contention where there needs not to be contention, but I will oppose where to oppose, and I will call out what I need to call out. So far, in the corporation, I want to bring things to people's attention here. First of all, I have been advocating for a properly done budget, because this thing of where we get a notice 10 minutes before a meeting that they want to approve millions of dollars, I am not standing for that. I sit down with that 10 minutes and I go through everything without stop. Given that, it will be on record that I have not voted for a lot of the releases that they have asked for local government in Diego Martin to the ministry, because I don't believe something that a child could go online and see that X cost X, not Y and Z. So when I see things that are 4 and 5 times the amount, I will flag it, I will make my voice heard, go ahead and outvote me, time longer than twine. I also want to bring to the attention to people of Diego Martin that the NTA will be communicating with everyone about various programs that we are talking about in the corporation, such as entrepreneurship programs, training programs. There's a lot that is being developed for Diego Martin. Not as much, not nearly as much as if NTA was in control of the corporation, but give them the thing, right? We will get what we can out of it, because we need to make sure that we are geared up and that we can access what we pay taxes for these programs and so on. And I will bring this up because maybe in a couple of months this may come forward and you all will hear about it. And if you don't, well, you heard about it here. There's a plan by the corporation to raise vending fees across the region, across the entire municipality. Drafts have been said that maybe 500, whatever, a vendor, some people cannot afford that to start up. That's the difference between having someone who's able to make themselves a business person and not. And I will not stand for people being taxed into poverty in this country. Talk of local government reform, we heard about the election up and down the country. There's no reform other than now it's a 4-year term rather than a 3-year term. So that's the big reform. That and more tax in your tail. And that seems to be the attitude, but it's not something that I will ever support. You know that if it's ever minuted that I voted in support of that, no, they lie. So going forward in the corporation, yes, I have my challenges. And I represent the people, I represent the party. I will not be swayed by anything else other than that. And I have had a lot of discussions with the political leader as well in terms of the direction that we need to be heading. And he will tell you that me and him will always go back and forth on it. By the end of the day, he will do what's best for the people, I will do what's best for the people. I have the support of the NTA from the executive, I have the support of the people most importantly, not just members of the NTA, but in Diego Martin. And I want us to all strive that by next year, well, the hall full. First of all, the hall full, we may have to get a bigger hall for the next meeting. And that's what I want. We need to keep growing. It is not a small feat that in the heartland of the current government, we have gotten a seat. This is the start of something big, and we know it. We have momentum going, and we have been growing. And again, I'm glad to see new people come out, and I encourage everyone to bring family members, bring friends. You don't have to join the party. Hear what we have to say. Come, hear about the LAMP model. Hear our candidates. See that the quality of our candidates are quality candidates, not just somebody that puts on a jersey and stands up, so the leaders support them, and they go into a seat. We don't work that way. We go for quality over quantity any day. Given that, I will not reveal too much, but you will see the cadre of candidates that we are currently screening and preparing for the next election. And know this, that come 2025, the NTA will be in a position to really pass what we need to pass, and will be in a position where we can actually determine the future and save this country from the current tyranny that is going on. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much to our alderman who gave an overview of his position as alderman of the Diego Martin Corporation. And this is what the LAMP model is all about. It's about accountability. And it speaks about what the LAMP model umbrella shows us is that, our journey to transformation is extremely strategic and involves a roadmap. And this roadmap, as it would show under our 8 keys, number 7 is what would be represented here through structured and quality national leadership and governance. So accountability is critical in what it is NTA stands for. And so we want to thank you again, Alderman, for that wonderful overview of your term in office, and for the next couple of years we look forward to it. It gives me great pleasure to introduce a dynamic woman that I'm sure you all know, another Digo girl, our NTA Deputy Political Leader, Lorraine P. She holds a wealth of experience in both politics and tourism, with 37 years in Trinidad's tourism industry and recognition as a woman of excellence in tourism by the Ministry of Tourism. She is dedicated to service excellence. Lorraine's expertise extends to psychology, event management, and tourism marketing, complemented by her certification as an original pain therapist. Maybe Rowley needs to see you, Lorraine. As the
NTA Deputy Political Leader, Lorraine advocates for the rights of individuals in Trinidad and Tobago, prioritizing equity and accountability in leadership. Let's put your hands together for our dynamic Deputy Political Leader.
Testing? Great. Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Christine, especially the part about the girl from Diego Martin. I like that. So I have gained back some youth here. And I just want to say that it is a task to come after these three brilliant, very fiery gentlemen who just spoke. Can we give them a round of applause again? So to my political leader of the National Transformation Alliance, Gary Griffith, the two other deputy political leaders, Commander Dindyal, if you could just raise your hand, and Dr. Sarang, who is in the back, members of the NTA governance team and empowerment committees, as well as the candidates for our recently concluded local government elections. Good evening, citizens of Trinidad and Tobago and residents of Diego Martin. Because Paul was able to get the alderman position and NTA to get an alderman position because our candidates for the local government elections really, really worked very hard in Diego Martin. So I am to calm the waves a little bit before Mr. Fire himself comes on. So I will be talking a little more calmly, but I'm going to get you all a little excited as we go along. So thank you for being part of this as we discuss matters of utmost importance for our nation's future. As we convene, it has become more and more evident that Trinidad and Tobago stands at a critical juncture. We face challenges that demand our immediate attention and concerted action. It is time to address the pressing need for a national development strategy that charts our course towards prosperity and progress. When we look at the way the government is working, it does not seem that they have a developmental strategy. It appears that they have a reactionary strategy, if you understand what I mean. They react to things, they don't make things happen. First and foremost, let us recognize the undeniable need for a change towards this national development strategy, which should include all stakeholders, both public and private sectors. Trinidad and Tobago is a nation blessed with abundant resources and potential. Yet we find ourselves grappling with persistent socio-economic disparities, infrastructural deficiencies, just look at the state of the roads, and environmental concerns, the flooding. The absence of a cohesive strategy to harness our strengths and address our weaknesses is glaring. Without a clear roadmap for development, we risk continuing to drift aimlessly, squandering opportunities, and perpetuating inequality. At the heart of our predicament lies a dearth of leadership. Leadership is not merely about holding positions of power. It is about inspiring vision, fostering unity, and driving meaningful change. Regrettably, we have witnessed a vacuum in leadership, characterized by a term that we use called short-termism, which means that we focus on short-term results to the detriment of long-term growth. This is what the government is doing. Self-interest and a lack of accountability. This deficiency has inhibited and hindered our ability to confront challenges head-on and forge a collective path forward. So what does transformational leadership look like? It embodies vision, courage, and inclusivity. Our political leader, Gary Griffith, is a reflection of transformational leadership. A transformational leader does not shy away from tackling systemic issues or making tough decisions for the greater good. They inspire hope, mobilize resources, and empower communities to be agents of change. Right now, I would just like, if there are any members of the NTA Empowerment Committees present, if you could just, by a show of hands, show this grouping here that we are already working on empowering our communities. Look, we have one there. Anybody else? Come in front there, put up your hand. Don't be afraid, show them. These people are working the ground, and we want to give them a round of applause. So, transformational leadership transcends personal ambitions and embraces a broader vision of prosperity, sustainability, and social justice for all. The impact of transformational leadership extends beyond political affairs to various national office holders. Consider the critical roles, for example, of the Commissioner of Police, the Auditor General, and the Governor of the Central Bank in Trinidad and Tobago, just to name 3. Each holds a unique mandate vital to our nation's well-being. The Commissioner of Police, for example, bears the responsibility of ensuring public safety and upholding the rule of law. Is that happening now? No. Under a national development strategy guided by transformational leadership, the Commissioner of Police becomes a champion of community policing, crime prevention, and police reform. They will prioritize collaboration with citizens, invest in training and resources, and foster trust between law enforcement and the public. The highest level of trust between law and enforcement and the public was under who? Gary Griffith, the political leader of the National Transformation Alliance. Similarly, the Auditor General plays a pivotal role in promoting transparency, accountability, and fiscal responsibility. I am taking my time to explain these things to you because you need to understand what is happening in your country. In a transformative leadership paradigm, the Auditor General becomes the watchdog for good governance, conducting what? Impartial audits, exposing corruption, and safeguarding public funds. Their work will reinforce confidence in our institutions and strengthens the foundation of democracy. The third one I want to give you a little introduction to and explanation for is the governor of the central bank. And I'm going somewhere with all of this. The governor of the central bank wields influence over monetary policy, financial stability, and economic growth. That's what is supposed to happen. But I think we clearly understand that is the Minister of Finance who is trying to do that. Embracing transformational leadership, the governor should become a steward of inclusive prosperity, balancing macroeconomic objectives with social priorities. They prioritize financial inclusion, sustainable development, and innovation, driving economic diversification and resilience. Are we diversifying our economy? Can you all tell me where and how? I'm not seeing it. When we look at the series of attacks on these constitutionally independent offices by way of attacking the holders of these offices, it is obvious to us and to those paying attention that Trinidad and Tobago is on a very dangerous course. We are on a very dangerous course. We are fast morphing into a dictatorship. The clear message being sent by our current government is that if you don't toe the line, you will be moved out of the way. It happened to our political leader. And let me recall a few other names of persons who were removed because they resisted doing the bidding of those in power. I refer to Jawala Rambaran, former governor of the Central Bank; Deborah Felix Thomas, former head of the Industrial Court. I can't remember his name, but the former head of the Integrity Commission was also removed. Our very own Gary, as I said. But just some of those that stood for integrity were doing their jobs to the best of their abilities and seeking the interests of the people, but fell victim to this nefarious government. In recent times, we have witnessed, because they didn't stop there, they are now attacking our DPP, Roger Gaspard, and the latest target is our very brave female Auditor General, Jaiwanti Ramdas. I ask that all of you, when you're kneeling down to pray, you cover her because she's under serious threat. Who will be next? The aim appears to be to ensure that we no longer have persons at the helm of our constitutionally designed independent organs to protect the rights of the citizens. And that includes each and every one of us present here tonight. We at the National Transformation Alliance view this seemingly intentional undermining of these offices and individuals who occupy these offices as a method of deflection. Deflection from mismanagement and a glaring incompetence by those who have been entrusted with leading our country. Deflection from the scrutiny of transparency and accountability. Deflection from answering to you, the citizenry, as to why after almost a decade in government, we are in a worse place than we were 10 years ago, and the worst that we have seen in recent times. The only question that remains, and some may say it has already been answered, is if there are more sinister motives guiding these attacks. I won't speak as to the motives or the why. I leave each one of you all to come to your own conclusions. What we need to focus on is the how. Not the how of how we got there. We know how we got there. But the how that will bring us from where we are to where we can and we need to be. Some of the hallmarks of this government have been wastage, lack of focus on national priorities, and not leveraging our national assets. In fact, we seem to be having a fire sale of our national assets. You all know what a fire sale is? Get rid of it for next to nothing and you don't know what's coming after. The colossal disaster that has been the closure of Petrotin and the refinery aside, this government has not grabbed the low-hanging fruit that resides, for example, in the tourism sector. There is little or no consultation with stakeholders on how to move this sector forward and maximize the earnings for foreign exchange. Our health sector is on what? I say we're on life support in the health sector because it's not working. If it was working, all these ministers will not be flying out of the country to get their medical attention. Our education system needs a serious overhaul, as the objective here appears to be, sorry, appears to be to ensure that we have an uneducated and dumbed out citizenry. You know, when you have an uneducated and dumbed out citizenry, what happens? Anything you tell them, they believe. And that is the intent. These issues have led to the deterioration of societal values and a country that is at the precipice of destruction. I want to pause in my delivery to ask a simple question. How many of you all in this room pay taxes? How many people? Put up your hand. It could be VAT on your goods you purchase. It could be your tax for your income. It could be import tax. How many of you all? Everybody in this room pays taxes. And because of those taxes, we are entitled to delivery of goods and services. It is not the government and them money. It is your money. It is your money. And you must hold them to account. When you're dropping in a pothole and your front tires mashing up, you have to hold them to account. When businessmen can't get their VAT refunds and they have to close their businesses, you must hold them to account. It is not their money, it is your money. And we need to stop being comatose and keeping our lips shut. We need to talk about the services that are supposed to be delivered to us because we pay the taxes. Upon examination of the LAMP model that Kendall spoke so well about, the pillars upon which the NTA was founded, we can conclude that this present government has failed in all areas. L is for leadership. Have they led you properly? A is for accountability. Have they accounted to you? M is for management. Have they managed our resources? And MP for the measurement of performance. If we had to measure their performance on a level of 1 to 10, they'll get 0. -0, I'm being told here. You have given this current government not 1, but 2 terms. It is said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different outcome. So people, I don't want you all to go in sentence. We're not insane. Vote them out. And it is time that you invest your vote where you will have a chance to have the quality of life that each and every one of us deserves. We need to give the mandate to handle our assets, our financial arrangement, our safety and security, accessible education, so that we can be a first world country. We need to ensure that the less fortunate are taken care of and have food on their tables. We need to ensure that Mr. Gary Griffith is elected into government. Under the leadership of Gary Griffith, the National Transformation Alliance is ready, willing, and able to deliver what is needed. Once we are elected into governance, we will undertake to have consultations with all individuals who have the knowledge and experience in the areas that we need to work on to ensure that we reach where we are supposed to reach. I said all individuals. We don't care what party card you're holding. Once you have Trinidad and Tobago at heart, we want to talk to you. And not the kind of consultations that we see happening now, you know, where everything looks like it has been predetermined and staged. We really want open, free, frank, and fair discussions. The NTA welcomes all who genuinely aspire to contribute to the development of our Twin Island state. So in conclusion, the time has come for Trinidad and Tobago to embark on a journey of transformational leadership and national development. Let us seize this moment to transcend partisan divides, deflection, and status quo complacency. Together, through the NTA, we can craft a bold vision for our future, rooted in collaboration, innovation, and resilience. By harnessing the collective will and ingenuity of our people, we can build a brighter tomorrow for generations to come. NTA is the way. NTA is the way, and if you only believe, I assure you, together we can do this. I thank you.
An NTA government can and will do, and it speaks about harnessing digitalization to support social, economic, and technological development we have in place for good governance. So thank you very much. Prominent members of our party, and we have in our midst, we have our own people there, Griffith. I see so many of you all here, but I want to give a special to my
brother who's here with his entire family. And to all of you all who are here and those who are online, thank you so much for being here. You know, after hearing all of this, Savita.
Christine, I don't know how true this is, but I heard Rowley bring a mirror to every political rally.
Since this?
Yes.
Why?
Maybe because he wants to reflect on his campaign strategy. What he don't realize, NTA have the campaign strategy that will take us into government and produce what the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago need.
Well, for sure, that mirror cracked. And so I will leave you to introduce our, well, what you all came here for. Let me hear. Gigi! Let me hear. Gigi! Gary! Gary! Gary!
So our next speaker is someone eagerly anticipated by all. Requiring no introduction whatsoever, his remarkable track record speaks volumes for itself. A dedicated servant of this country, he has served in the military, held the position of Minister of National Security, and served as Commissioner of Police. With your support, he aims to lead our government. I now introduce to you the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Gary Griffith.
Good evening. Yeah, that's it. Good. There was a short person here before me. Colin Imbert was here. Good evening, everyone. To my family, my wife, Nicole Dyer Griffith, my son, Gary Griffith III, to members of the NTA governance team, to members of the previous candidates in the local government election, others who have been in the Empowerment Committee, supporters of the NTA, non-supporters of the NTA, curious observers, and to the many that will be viewing live at this time. Good evening to you. And again, this is exactly where we started, right here at this place, just about a year or so ago. And when we did this, it was for a reason. It is because on all occasions, Trinidad and Tobago, there will always be a need for that bridge constituency. You call it the third constituency, the third party, whatever you call it, there's always been a need for this. It started in 1981 with the Organization for National Reconstruction. It built to 1991 with the NAR. It then went to 2007 with the Congress of the People. Many of you all were probably members of the Congress of the People. And now if we move 17 years later, it is now the NTA. So whatever you call it, it is that group, those group of individuals who are not a PNM till I'm dead or born at UNC and I will die at UNC. And I'm not here in any way to discredit those individuals. People have their right, and if they believe that their right is to support a political party till they die, regardless of whether that party is good, bad, or indifferent, that is your right. I will always say that I will ask citizens of a country that You should be selecting a political party and those persons who you would like to serve based on what it is they can bring to you. You blindly support, as I always say, you can blindly support the national football team that they're playing right now. And regardless of the outcome, it is not going to affect you from being robbed. You could blindly support Brazil or Liverpool. It is not going to affect you in a home invasion. You can blindly support Manchester United. It is not going to affect your health. Well, sometimes you could have suicidal tendencies if you support Manchester United these days, or even a minor heart attack. But as it pertains to crime or your needs, you should really be looking, and this is what I ask. Sometimes, and you know, when you look at the speakers here, not one occasion you heard any speaker spend half of their time on the platform stating, had it not been for the wisdom and the brilliance and the greatness of our great political leader. I don't need that. What I want is for the speakers and those persons who are asking, they're asking you, we want to serve you. Let us give you that opportunity to show what we have to deliver. And that is what they are doing. And we are not here to spend time bashing other political parties. Yes, it is important for us to show the shortcomings of other political parties. But we have a structure, we have a plan. And it is the same thing that we had with the Congress of the People. We didn't go into government willy-nilly and not knowing what we had to do. And we would have seen it on so many governments, even this one. You win an election and you start looking around, okay, so I have 22 seats. Call him, you become Minister of Finance, come up with a finance plan. Who's going to be in charge of sport? Chamfer, well, PM, I never kick a lime, you know. No, sorry, you become Minister of Sport. Simon, you could be Minister of Communication. Well, PM, I don't know how to communicate, you know, I never spoke before. That's okay. And that is how they operate. No plan, no concept, no training, no qualification, no experience, no confidence, no charisma. And that is how the PNM is. And people will still vote for them. So what we have actually done, we have a national integrated strategy. And that, because we have aligned with the thinking of what is a unit known as the Strategic Institute. And as we move forward, we are going to show you that roadmap. And that roadmap involves a number of different things, from people and society development and transformation, security and safety of the people of the nation, economic transformation, effective utilization and management of lab, air, marine resources. So it's a number of things where we have it planned. Not you win an election and then a person who was a member of parliament, you try to take a square peg, put it into a round hole and try to make that person a successful minister. That is not how we operate. So, as I said, as I started, going back to Diego Martin, the Western Peninsula, unfortunately, when we look at Diego Martin, it is perceived that Diego Martin was PNM country. And we would have seen in 2010, that bridge constituency is so powerful in the Western Peninsula in Diego Martin. And we would have seen that the three candidates for the PNM in 2010, they held on by that, where it is that even Nicole Griffith, she just missed it by a few hundred votes. And unfortunately, the People's Partnership by the time, there was poor strategy. There was not one major political meeting in that 2010 campaign, very little resources. And still, Colin Imbert, Keith Rowley, and Amory Brown won their seats here in Diego Martin, Central, West, and North by just a few hundred votes. And it says a lot. It shows that the area in Diego Martin, they are independent thinkers. It is not a case of a PNM till I die. If they are not comfortable with what they are seeing, they are willing to make that positive change. And that is where we provide that opportunity here. So when it is that we started at NTA, and we formed a strategic alliance, we defeated the PNM by 60,000 votes. 60,000 votes in the last local government election. And it is not that the NTA, yes, you will see on paper, we acquired, I think, 4% or 5%. We actually put ourselves on the political map of Trinidad and Tobago. You're seeing that blue. And it is not just those 17,000 persons who voted for the NTA, are supporters of the NTA across the country. Because out of those 31 seats, the other 109 odd seats, there were many, many supporters of the NTA that voted for a candidate of another political party. And you would have seen that in San Fernando, in Sangre Grande. So the NTA, it is vast. And that is where the Congress of the People, with that 147,000, they have not gone anywhere. They were just there waiting for that bell to ring. and to say, yes, there's now a bridge constituency where we believe that there's that hope that we can transform Trinidad and Tobago. And that is why that word transformation is in the middle of the NTA. And you would have seen in the flyer, we said that we have a nation to defend. Now, on most occasions, people believe that a nation to defend, it is strictly about national security. I am stating no. We have much more to defend than just defending a nation from crime. We have to defend our nation from arrogance, from the incompetence, the corruption, the division, the hate, the vindictiveness, and the malice that we have seen in this country. This country has been so divided and destroyed because of politics and politicians. Our job is to unite Trinidad and Tobago, to develop, to build, to be productive, to be safer, to unite, and to prosper. And when we do that, I give you the promise, the same way that you would have seen and known me, not many people would have known me in my 17 years in the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, but as a Minister of National Security, a National Security Advisor, Commissioner of Police. When you look at the present Prime Minister, when you listen to his words, I have instructed, I have directed, I have summoned, I have ordered. He was not like that. Unfortunately, power can corrupt an individual. He lost his way. And that is why in 2015, many people said, let's give him a chance, because they did not see that in the man. Patrick Manning did, by the way. Patrick Manning knew about it. He said it was coming. We didn't anticipate it. But that type of arrogance of, every time he speaks in a post-cabinet press conference that never has anything to do with what happened in cabinet, it is to be used to bash Gary Griffith and anybody else. It is always, I have directed, I have summoned, I have ordered, I have instructed. That is a sign of slow dictatorship. There are several members in his own cabinet have continued to state to me that they cannot say anything because of his arrogance. And I continue. I had a meeting just before here with the previous candidates from the NTA in the local government election. And I told them that, I said, I do not want yes people. That is the first sign of leadership. So when we speak about this lamb model, you keep hearing about the lamb model. That concept of leadership, anytime you have a leader that believes that every single thing that they say must be correct, they do not want to be questioned, they do not want to have anyone cross-examine them, then you're going to fail. And that is what happens. You can't be in a cabinet and you will make a decision and everybody will slam the table. And then you change your mind, they slam the table again. You change your mind, they slam the table again. That concept of political puppets in cabinet, because they're afraid of the prime minister or any political leader, the political party will fail, the cabinet will fail, the country will fail. So what I continue to ask everyone who supports this party, if at any time you see anyone, whether it be a prime minister, a political leader, a councillor, a member of parliament, a minister, be bold and stand firm and say, I think you're going the wrong way. And that is where Keith Rowley has lost his way, because everyone is afraid of him. I stood up, because as the Commissioner of Police, I stood up. As the Minister of National Security, I stood up against my own government when I saw something going wrong. And it is not to blame anyone, but it's a state you must stand firm and not just have that blind loyalty. You must always look as a politician, as a servant to a country, that hierarchy, that chain of command being your God, your country, and the citizens who put you there, not a political leader. No one man must have that capability. That is what our country has right now. We have, as I said, what is known as democratic dictatorship. When one man alone, handpicks the president, the chief justice, the speaker of the House, the president of the Senate, the commissioner of police, the chief of defense staff, the director of the SSA, and then when he selects the president will then handpick persons because she is politically appointed. So you will now handpick independent bodies, and those independent bodies will now work to the beck and call of the prime minister. So therein lies the first sign of dictatorship. We have to change this. And when you listen to the Prime Minister recently, as we now go into the earlier scenario, and the reason why I need to spend some time on this, because your most fundamental right to all here, to all of those listening, is safety and security. People say that we must spend too much time. Without that fundamental right, everything else that you have, it makes no sense, because you will probably be dead. So when the Prime Minister decides to undermine the intelligence of citizens of this great country, to state that he made the decision to reappoint Earl Christopher because this is his exact words. It was the most reasonable decision in the public interest. Now that is unbelievable. And sad enough, when it is that you look, there will be a few people that will listen to it. You know why? Because anything that he says, they must blindly support. And you'll see it. And this is where I continue to state, to supporters of a political party, supporters of a government, never, ever be blind loyalists, never be puppets that you will just blindly listen to those persons because they hold that position of authority. Question it. It is your right. And that is why we have lost our way for so long in this country. So he made a decision and he said it was in the public interest. And then Fitzgerald Hines had the audacity again to lie to the country to state that the government had no choice in reappointing Earl. He said they had no choice because if Earl Christopher was not reappointed to act, the country would not have a commissioner of police. But I ask you now to press rewind and remember just when I was commissioner of police acting, and then they went to court because the president refused to adhere to the law. As ignorant as she was, she did not adhere to the law to submit that merit list. Keith Rowley said to the country, okay, if that is what has happened, do not worry. Let your heart not be bothered. Because if it is that Gary Griffith we made a mistake and he couldn't continue to act as commissioner because his name did not go to parliament, listen to Keith Rowley's exact words. We can have the country have a police service without a commissioner or an acting commissioner because sergeants will keep sergeanting and inspectors will keep inspecting. So Fitzgerald Hines, you're a liar. You're a liar to state that you had no choice because Keith Rowley did it. The police service did not have a commissioner or an acting commissioner because you were so vindictive, you were so bitter because I stood firm. And every single time anyone who leads any independent body in this country and they stand firm to say that I will not be used, I will not be manipulated, I will not be blindly directed by a politician, what happens? Think of it, the commissioner of police, the director of the SSA, the head of the Integrity Commission, the head of the Central Bank, the Auditor General that you are seeing now, every single one, it happens one after the other. And that is the way the man is. If at any time anyone questions him, he will try to remove you and then try to put persons who he believes that he can direct. So going back to the earlier scenario, what our country has now faced is that again, 3 or 4 years ago, the process to select a commissioner of police was done by an independent body, international experts. When I applied, these were individuals who selected commissioners around the world. And then when they did this, they had a proper assessment because it was impartial. It was not run by persons who were handpicked by a prime minister. So then when we had that process, this was Earl Christopher. Earl Christopher did not place in the top 15 by international experts. She got 4 out of 15 in management skill, 4 out of 15 in work integrity, 27 out of 50 in the panel interview, 4 out of 15 in the media role fit, and 3 in role fit. She got 52%, 30% less than others. She could not come in the top 15. And that you could tell me that 3 years later, all of a sudden, she drank some gummy juice or something, and she became this bright Earl Christopher. And it is not to criticize or bash Earl Christopher. That is her right to apply. But when she applied with professionals, quality international experts, she could not come in the top 15. What did Keith Rowley do? What did he do? He got the president to handpick a new police service commission. This police service commission did not have one person with any training, knowledge, or qualification in law enforcement. They had an accountant, a speaking consultant, an ex-judge. Well, one thing I've noticed is that this government, they love to select retired judges to do their work. You notice that? So he decided to put a retired judge to be in charge of the police service commission. No training, knowledge, qualification, or experience in law enforcement. So they imposed Earl on us because of their ignorance in law enforcement. They also used Stanley Jokey John when it came to deal with the firearms. The man probably never held a water gun in his life. He has never investigated anything. Never investigated anything. But you decide to let him become an investigator. He was a James Bond. And all of a sudden, he is investigating firearms. And then had the audacity to disrespect and lie about the police service by stating it was a massive, well-oiled criminal industry. Remember that? 4 years later, not one person convicted, not one person charged, not one person arrested. Stanley Jokey John, because of your false information, you have embarrassed the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service with those lies. And as I said, 4 years later, nothing done. They then turned recently now to the Auditor General, selected another retired judge. I think this man was a family court judge. So you have selected a judge now to be in charge of a massive auditing system to ascertain where billions of dollars went. The man probably doesn't even have an O-level pass in accounts, but you put this because he's a judge, and that is what they do. They use the word judge and give the country, wow, this person is impartial, but with no training, qualification, or knowledge in the field. And what happens? Just like the audit committee, they also selected after Stanley Jokey John failed, pay people big money, handpick them, and then use them now for them to come up with a report to then tell the country, look what these people said in the investigation. Keith Rowley, you joker. Politicians cannot appoint people to call them investigators. There's something called the police service. You have continued to use this to fool the country. So you select these auditors, and then the good thing is, you see, Keith's kind of smart. He understands after what he tried with Emailgate, where it is you can read something and lie to discredit people, but if you say it in Parliament, you can't be sued. And that is why he wanted to go with that audit report full of lies. Go into Parliament to lie. Come outside. I am enjoying life right now. I have Stanley John in court. I have Blissy Prasad in court. I have Lizanna Liebert in court. I have Rhoda Barrett in court. I have Keith Rowley in court. I have Fitzgerald Hines in court. And all of them are beating them. Because I'm standing firm and I will expose them. So going back to the Erla Christopher scenario, when it is that Erla Christopher has been reappointed, as I stated, I am not surprised. It is expected. Erla Christopher's standard equates with that of Fitzgerald Hines and Keith Rowley. So that is what I stated. You're not going to put a James Bond or a Rambo to work with a Mr. Bean and a Tommy Joseph. And that is what Keith Rowley and Fitzgerald Hines are. They are comedians. They have totally lost the plot. They have spent all of their time in the last few years targeting political opponents. And that is where he and I clashed. Apart from the fact of his ignorance and not understanding public health regulations, where he wanted me to do to arrest persons in their homes, and I had to educate him, and he had several attorneys in his cabinet who said, Gary, I didn't know the man was so dotish, you know. All he had to do was read the public health regulations. But he was insisting that I arrest persons in their homes because of his arrogance and his stupidity and ignorance in not understanding the laws that his government drafted. So when I did not do that, then we had our little fallout. And then when it continued, he decided to take 40 million taxpayers' dollars, your dollars, put it into the police account, and then try to direct me to utilize that money solely to investigate political opponents of the PNM. Any other country in the world, there will be a call for an election. You try to manipulate the police service and try to direct them to, and the thing is, at that period, every 6 months in the fiscal year as Commissioner of Police, I couldn't get a cent from this man. Colin Imbert, again, with his stupidity and lack of knowledge and understanding fiscal policy, said that the commissioner is not speaking the truth because we have given him 800 million already. Colin, listen, Colin, 800 million is for salaries. You cannot use salaries to pay for goods and services. So for 6 months, I couldn't get a cent to run an organization with 7,000 police officers, 1,000 vehicles, 110 stations. But you give me $40 million to target political opponents. And that is the way the man is. So when it is you get someone like Erla Christopher, it will fit in well. So as I mentioned, she didn't come in the top 15. They then changed the law to remove the foreign intervention, the experts that came from Penn State and so forth, to bring in the Police Service Commission to handpick who they wanted. And as I said, the Police Service Commission is handpicked by a president who is handpicked by politicians. That is the problem we have in our constitution. And when it is you select these people, all it takes now is for 2 of those persons to give someone 49 out of 50. So when it is that just now Fitzgerald Hines can actually state to and tell the country, Erla Christopher got a good rating. I have it here to show to the media how the Commissioner of Police, what you're measured by annually. And listen to some of these things and tell me if this sounds like Erla Christopher doing a great job. develops and directs the implementation of strategies to reduce crime, plans, organize, and directs the activities of the assessment center, plans, organize, and directs the major divisions in strategic, operational, and tactical planning, oversees all emergency operations and takes command to ensure a management team responds to field operations, represents the police service in significant public relations, establishes and maintains relationships with regional and international agencies, participates in the development, implementation, monitoring of national strategic plan, making sure you have a decrease in murders, making sure that you reduce road deaths, making sure you recover at least 1,000 illegal firearms a year, making sure you have 60% of customers interacting with the police service and they are satisfied, making sure 60% of persons are satisfied with police visibility, making sure 60% of stakeholders trust the police, making sure you have a 50% reduction in police absenteeism from court, making sure you have a 50% reduction in overtime. I could go on and on. Has Erla Christopher, you feel Erla Christopher could do any of this? Not one thing she could do. So Police Service Commission, you have deceived the country, and I could show the media, these are the 75 things that they assess you on, and not one thing she can do, yet you have the audacity to mislead the country to say that you have graded Erla Christopher good. For you to do that, Police Service Commission, to Judith Jones and Company, what it means is that either you are totally incompetent or you have been directed based again on the people who appointed you. And this can't continue, which is why we have to change the Constitution. So Fitzgerald Hines' justification about her getting a good grade, it is mind-boggling. And that is why it is I ask you all to understand why we are here. We are here for transformation, to transform Trinidad and Tobago. We are not here to get in power. We are here to serve you. We are to find ways to make Trinidad and Tobago better. I recall in 2013, I looked at the standard of, when I was National Security Advisor, I looked at the performance and the standard of then previous Martin Joseph and Howard Chinley. And I said to myself, I need to get their job to fix this country. Then in 2018, hold the press, in 2018, I then saw the shortcomings of Stephen Williams and others as Commissioner of Police. And I said to myself, I need to get that job to help our country. Now, in the near future, I have seen the failings of Keith Rowley and Fitzgerald Hines. Guess what? So, as I speak, I do not want to spend too much time. I would like to open the floor for persons to ask questions, because what I want to do is to explain that what we have seen, as I continue to mention democratic dictatorship, when it is you go back to Stanley Jokey John stating that the police had a massive well-oiled criminal industry, and for 4 years, the only person held was a citizen, a law-abiding citizen who went to Barbados. And again, I want to reconfirm why our country, and I keep stating that this is close to dictatorship. There's no way that those police officers could have left Trinidad and Tobago's shores unless it was directed by a senior government minister. And the reason I can say this is that I'm the only person in the Caribbean that was a government minister and a commissioner of police. And I know the role and function and their restrictions. No commissioner of police has authority to send any police officer outside the territorial waters of Trinidad and Tobago. Only a government senior minister could do that. So if the police hockey team wants to play a hockey game in Barbados, the Minister of National Security has to sign it. If it is that the Defense Force cricket team has to go to New York, the Minister of National Security has to sign it. So don't you dare try to fool us to believe that these police officers just went willy-nilly up to Barbados. And again, it goes back to why Erla Christopher is the best point, is the best pick. Because Erla Christopher should have been investigating this. And she will not, notice she has, in one of the role and function is accessibility to the media. She has not had one media conference because she's afraid the media will ask her, did you or McDonald Jacob give authorization for these officers to leave Trinidad and Tobago to go to Barbados to kidnap, abduct a citizen of this country? And she will be forced to answer. And the answer is it was a senior government official. But I promise you one thing, the day after we get into government, I intend to make sure we have a commissioner that will investigate this. So as we speak on national security, the perception that I've seen, I heard it, I read recently in the Balisay newspaper, what do you call it, the Trinidad Guardian. So the Trinidad Guardian decided to put something on their editorial to say that it doesn't matter if you change commissioners, that no commissioners made positive change, that anytime, and then Marvelous Marvin Gonzalez also said if you change the minister, it wouldn't make a difference. Let me clarify. 1991 to 1995, crime went up every single year. Guess who was in government? 1995 to 2000, it went down every year. Guess who was not in government? 2001 to 2010, crime went up every single year. Guess who got back in government? 2010 to 2015, it went down. Guess who was not in government? 2015 to 2024, it has gone up every single year other than my last 2 years as commissioner. Guess who is in government? The point I am trying to make is the catalyst for crime reduction is the implementation of government policies. You get the right government, you get the right people, you can change this. So in 2013 to 2015 and 2018 to 2021, the nation felt safer. Why? Because we put policies in place, and I will just name a few. The implementation of the National Security Special Operation Group, the Special Operation Response Team, the National Security Training Academy, the Community Comfort Patrol, the Emergency Response Patrol, the Rapid Response Unit, the National Operations Center, which, by the way, I established a National Operations Center and an Operational Command Center and a Commissioner's Command Center, piggybacking from what I saw in New York and Chicago and London. And those operation centers were set up to have the cameras so that law enforcement would look at criminals. Instead, after I left, what is happening now is that the criminals have set up an operational command center to look at the police. We then set up and revamped the E999 system. The E999 system, before 30 and 40 minutes you're waiting and they have you on hold. We changed that to ensure that in less than 5 minutes you had a response. So you had a proper 999 system. You call, you state your concern, we then look on the grid. So people will be seeing all these movies, London Has Fallen and all of these movies where you see all these cameras. We have that. We set this up. And by doing that, we put the Rapid Response Unit, 100 vehicles strategically placed around the country. In the Western Division alone, we had 10. So picture 3 vehicles patrolling 24/7 in Diego Martin, 3 in Caranage, 3 in Piti Valley, and 1 in Cocorite. What that meant is that any distress call, in less than 5 minutes, you had a response. That is why you had a few moments later. That is why criminals will peg it back, because they realized that you cannot just jump over a wall. By the time you jump back, the Sort boys, Gary's boys were there. Anywhere you went. We actually put an end to kidnapping. Kidnapping never ended until we set up a proper system. And then the PNM Guardian had the audacity when, after I left, they went back, kidnapped victim rescued. The Guardian came out, Jordan and company, Chester Sambrano, Kejan Huyins and all of you all. That is not rescued. You pay the kidnappers to release the person. What SWOT started doing, we started using technology that the criminals could not understand. We were kicking down doors. We were intercepting vehicles with the kidnapped victim in the trunk in the house. And we were arresting kidnappers. We put an end to kidnapping. We put an end to home invasion. As soon as you jump over the wall, you come back, we're ready for you. And it had to do with, again, as I continue, the National Alert State, covert operatives, sleeper cells. We started putting police officers undercover that other police officers didn't know about. When I was Minister of National Security, the safest Laventille had ever been was when it is that I sent 150 soldiers into Laventille to lock it down. And there was 1 murder and 3 in that period, and that was domestic violence. So it could be done, but we have 5,000 members of the Defense Force in camp waiting for a war to happen. I promise you, when it is that we get in government, I intend to utilize the Defense Force in the role and function that it should be. We will transform the police service. We also established the social media monitoring unit, the gender-based violence unit, live video footage, dashboard cameras, body cameras, tasers, pepper spray, putting public trust and confidence in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. It was 14% when I became commissioner. By the time I left, it was 59%. A year later, it went down to 8%. 8%! And Fitzgerald Hines is stating that the Police Service Commission gave Earl Christopher a good grade. The image and likeness of the police service, it builds from your leader. And my point being is that the same way, instead of criticizing our police service, we transform the police service. And I promise you, the same way we transformed the police service, and it was not a Gary Griffith thing, it was a team that I had. And that team worked to transform the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. So if we can transform a unit that was seen as the most corrupt, the least trusted, at 14%, to send it up to 59%, I promise you, we can transform every single arm of the public sector of Trinidad and Tobago. And again, and that will be done through that LAMP model: leadership, accountability, management, measurement of performance, intelligence-driven policing, predictive policing. We were actually stopping the persons whilst they were on their way to commit the crime. And all of these things, I ask you all, please understand that this can happen. So when it says that the Balize Guardian and others try to fool you to say that changing government, changing ministers of national security, changing commissioners of police, it would not make a difference, they will say that because they have failed. They have been weighed, measured, and found wanting. We intend to make sure we will remain accountable to you, Trinidad and Tobago. And as I said, as I promised you, if it is that we can transform the police service, we will transform all arms of the public service. And if at any time we go in a different direction, we are falling short, it is for you to stand firm. Do not do what you are seeing now with this government. People are afraid. I thank each and every one of you for being here today. Because let me tell you something. This here is a sellout crowd. And this crowd, the other two major political parties, they will have a crowd just like this. But one thing that we have, I ask anybody here, did we pay you all to come here tonight? And that is the difference. We don't have rent a crowd, where it is you pay somebody, you put them in a maxi, and if you notice some political meetings, it's the same people going to the same meeting because it's the same crowd. So we don't have rent a crowd. We have not paid 1 cent to anyone coming here. You are doing this because you feel that you want to see Trinidad and Tobago be better. And there are many, and just before I close, there are many, many more. That 147,000 was just in 2007. Since then, there are persons now between the ages of 18 to 35, and they live in mommy and daddy's home, or they've moved on, but they tell their parents, you can't tell me there's a PNM or a UNC home. I will make my decision. And because of technology, because of social media, young persons are trying to tell their parents now, mommy, daddy, this till you die, and that till you die is not working out. Select the best persons. So there are hundreds of thousands more that will not be here, but they are afraid. They are afraid of the victimization. They are afraid of being targeted. Some of them know they could lose their jobs because they work in the public sector. That is what we are going through, which is again why I speak about democratic dictatorship. We intend to put an end to dictatorship. What we intend to promise that we are going to give you is a new Trinidad and Tobago with good governance. To all of you, I thank you.
We are not finished, please. We are not finished. We're just having a NTA time here. So we're about to open our open forum. This is where you ask any of our panelists questions of any concern. And I'm sure many of you may have questions. So Savita is going to be on the floor, and she will be taking questions from you. And I will be taking questions from anyone who will be online. And then we have a treat afterwards for you, so please do not leave. So the floor is open for questions. You can show your hand if you have a question. Can we have lower our noise level, please? Thank you. We have someone on the floor.
Are we going to stop the Privy Council from representing us internationally, or are we going to have the CCJ? I heard Jeremy want to be the man in charge of the CCJ itself.
No, that has been going on for some time now. And there are certain people that would prefer for us to move to the CCJ. The issue lies with the concern of still, I think the one thing that we have that is still secure, that is still independent, is our judicial system. But you have noticed that over the last few years, the PNM has a way of selecting specific retired judges, as I mentioned. Do I need to say anything more if we should go to the CCJ? Because the fact is that if it is that certain persons, because you might very well be a retired judge and you may still have that type of political bias towards someone. And if it is that you're politically biased, regardless of who you're politically biased to, my personal view is the one aspect of transparency, of making sure that you cannot be touched. Because I have been in court, I said I have about 17 cases in court. And some of the cases that I have heard by the persons who preside over it, it is unbelievable, which is why, thankfully, we have the Court of Appeal. But suppose that person who made that decision becomes a judge in the CCJ eventually, and you listen to some of the decisions made by some of these people. There are some judges that almost every single appeal, they will make a decision, and when it's appealed, it is overturned. That says a lot. So should we take that chance? At this time, I think the jury is still out literally on that. So in the meantime, let's stick with the Privy Council to make sure that you will not reach that point of being controlled. And yeah, so as I said, let's stick with the Privy Council until we can be sure that the CCJ can be something totally impartial, and it is that justice can actually be served without any degree of political bias. Yeah. So as I said, if you have noticed that the PNM's mantra, every time they want to have an investigation, they select specific retired judges. Interesting. Any other questions? Yes.
Before we just move on, PBH 963, can I just attend to your vehicle, please? PBH 963.
We have a question online, political leader. Is there going to be urgent forensic audits from a foreign firm and expedited findings be sent to DPP in respect to the questionable transactions done by these ministers?
Well, it will only happen if based on the findings, and therein lies the concern. It is always himself unto himself. So you as a Minister of Finance handpick people that you may know, pay them big taxpayers' money, and then say, you're going to launch the investigation, and then they're going to come back with the findings. But you selected them. And that is where they continue to do the same nonsense. Only in a banana republic would politicians hire persons, call them investigators, and then when they come with the report, they say, aha, we catch them. And people are actually dotish enough to believe it. It happened with the firearms. You handpick people who had no actual training or qualification in law enforcement, no training in investigation. You handpick them, they write a report, and then you come and say, look what it is I heard. It doesn't work that way, and it goes right back to what caused the problem with the meritless fiasco. You as a Prime Minister walk with a piece of paper from a citizen. This was not an official report, mind you. This is one citizen out of 1.4 million. So if any of you all, somebody just didn't like Gary, I will just write, Gary did so and so and so. And you give it to the Prime Minister, he's like, oh, okay, let me call Bliss. Bliss, let's meet in President House and treat the President House like a post office. Take that, Bliss. What do you want me to do, PM? Well, shut down the merit list. And then she stops, and then she does that based on a citizen writing on a piece of paper. And it gets worse when millions of dollars are paid when you handpick persons, call them investigators with no investigative training, and then they write the report to what you want. All of this is Emailgate reloaded. You say the same lie over and over and hope people believe it. But you cannot be hiring persons to investigate yourself and then expect that that result is going to be flawless, neutral, and impartial.
Thank you. Good night to the political leader, members of the head table, audience. My question is tonight is that, I'm wondering, after you become the Prime Minister, would you also handle the mantle of Minister of National Securities to ensure that at least the crime rate is deducted to a certain percentage, let's say, before you pass on that particular mantle? Also, do you think we are on the brink of a Haitian Republic?
Right. Okay, so with the first question, my only goal is to serve Trinidad and Tobago, where my family and my God would like me to go, and the direction will be based on them and obviously your good selves. But there have been situations where Prime Minister, I think it was Eric Williams, may have been the last, where he actually held a ministerial portfolio, and then Basio Pandey as well for a year as Minister of National Security. And I working alongside him, I did most of that work as he was the Prime Minister. So it is quite possible. The interesting thing is one of the main aspects of the Prime Minister, his major role and function other than being a Prime Minister, is the chair of the National Security Council. Keith Rowley continues to mention that more than him being the Prime Minister because he has some kind of a glorification as everything as the chair of the National Security Council. So it is important. The one good thing I can say about Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, she knew her shortcoming as a chair of the National Security Council, so she put a lot of faith and listened to myself as a national security advisor and a security minister. So if the person holds both positions, it helps. And I think it is very important when it is that you have someone who leads a country, has some degree of knowledge in your most fundamental right. I recall when people say, well, how could Gary ever be a prime minister? He was in the military. Point to note, 31 of the 45 US presidents had military service. 31 of 45. And this is not to knock anyone. This is not to knock anyone. Anyone could be a prime minister. You have to have the political will, the passion, the charisma, and willing to serve. But the point being is that in the military, in contrast to what this country, we have never understood that military officers, how they are trained. They're not just trained to win wars. They are trained to unite a country, to build persons, to develop persons, to bring the best out of them. And that is why it is from the John F. Kennedy, the Washingtons, and so forth. So it happened then. In Trinidad and Tobago, however, the be-all and end-all job, it started, for instance, I was a little boy. You had to be a lawyer. Being an attorney, being a lawyer seems to be everything. So if you notice, most of the presidents in Trinidad and Tobago are attorneys, have some aspect in law. Why not? Why do we feel so? Why do we feel that you must have some, and even to be commissioner of police, there's a very foolish concept that you must have, one of the main things is to have a law degree. But if you look at the 75 things I spoke about, not one point in the 75 matters that you're assessed on as commissioner of police involves law. So they're telling you, it's good to have, you must have a law degree, but you're not going to be assessed on law. And again, my take on it is that if I have that capability, I have the capacity to do so, I intend to serve Trinidad and Tobago. If it is to be Minister of National Security, Prime Minister, or any humble servant, I intend to offer my services to this country.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. And as it pertains to what you spoke about in Haiti, it's interesting you said that. I was the first Trinidad and Tobago citizen to return home with a UN peacekeeping medal from Haiti, in fact. I spent 6 months in Haiti. And for those who have never seen Haiti, Haiti is a beautiful country. It is what I have seen, it is a virtual desert. And when I spent that 6 months in Haiti, fighting for democracy, for our CARICOM neighbors, I felt proud. I was in command of administration, finance, logistics, and welfare for 300 CARICOM troops from 6 different countries. And getting up in the morning, living in a tent in a virtual desert, seeing children sticking their hands and fighting with a pig for food. The suffering that I saw there, the famine, the bitterness. We can't go down that road. So apart from us we should always be willing to help our CARICOM neighbors, which again, the first thing that Keith Rowley and they'll say, no, we're not going to help Haiti, that's their business. No. My job is always to try to help our CARICOM neighbors. But also, when we look at what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago, that dictatorship, that hatred, that division, what we are seeing here, we are slowly, there's that slow aspect of dictatorship. And if it does not stop, if this man gets 5 more years, this country could never survive. We have to make that decision to stop him now.
Political leader, we have only time for 3 more questions. And I see 2 hands are up, and I have 1 online. So let me do the online. And the question is, would NTA be in talks with the UNC in 2025? COP tried and TNT was not ready for third-party politics.
Sorry, what's the last part of the question?
COP tried and TNT was not ready for third-party politics.
All right, no, definitely not. Let me tell you something. So let me clarify this. This is starting to feel like a Keith Rowley conversations with the Prime Minister. You know what Keith was doing? He had choreographed questions, and when the person asked the question, oh, yeah, bam, and he would press his phone and answer it. This is not choreographed. I didn't know that was the question coming. But definitely, what you all decide here in this room and to the 100,000 of persons who support that bridge constituency, we decide the outcome of the general election. And I'll tell you what I mean. Let me clarify. People say, well, no, a third party can never win on its own. You're missing the point. In 1981, the ONR decided to go on their own, to stand firm on something, and it allowed PNM to win by a large margin. In 1986, that ONR decided to join with the ULF, and it formed an amalgamation of parties that caused the annihilation of the PNM never seen before, 33-3. In 1991, the NAR decided to go on their own because they said they did not want to work with the then ULF. It caused the PNM to win. In 1995, because of the NAR dismantling, that third constituency of voters like your good selves decided to work with the UNC. That caused the UNC to win in 95. And then in 2007, the Congress of the People said, we are not going to suffer what is known as political domestic violence, where it is you want our votes, you want our support, but you want to treat us like dirt. And they stood firm, and it caused the PNM to win. In 2010, that bridge constituency of voters yet again said, we are going to form a strategic alliance with the UNC. It caused a destruction of the PNM. So the point being, what you all decide is going to decide the outcome of the election. And I can tell you one thing. Guess who's going to make that decision of what we decide? Not here, not here, you. I will expect and get the answer from you to tell us what we want. And just let me, and one point. So to those who ask the question, what do you bring to the table? What we bring to the table is without us, you cannot win. We are the catalyst, and the country wants us. They want to have us be part of our government. But as I said, I will ask you all to tell us what you would like us to do. We make that decision. Whatever decision we make, we will do it based on the decision of the rank and file of those who support the NTA. Yes.
Pleasant good night to the distinguished panel and to Mr. Gary Griffith, a person who I believe should be our next Prime Minister. Okay? I would like to start off by saying I totally reject being referred to as a stupid Trinidadian. And furthermore, the people in Tobago don't demonstrate they reject being referred to as stupid Tobagonians. So I think it's time now we reach a point, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but worldwide. We need some change in leadership, okay? For too long we've been going on the road, like Mr. Griffith just said. You can't have a third party. Who putting that in our head? Either UNC or PNM, and then they're playing Indian against African, all this kind of nonsense. And what's going on? Who benefiting? Look at the crime we're going on in the country. Oh God, man. It's time for that to stop now. And I think Mr. Griffith, I think he's the man that could direct us in that, send us in that direction. Unite the country and make us feel safe, and everybody could, relax and enjoy ourselves, man. And a third party is what we need. Thank you.
All right, so thank you everyone for your questions. All right, and we'll now have Eric.
I have to tell all you one thing. Good evening, everybody. All you nice? Yeah, you heard that? I hear some people double park and they're blocking people who want to leave. But that is not all what I want to tell all you. I want to tell all you. The demerit point system from licensing is the greatest system. I hope you're listening. Yes, the demerit point system from licensing is the greatest system. I hope you're listening. The system is a boss. Listen good, mister. It should be across every sector. Doctors, lawyers, and politicians too. It should have demerit in everything they do. Missing from your constituency, 2 points. Sleeping in parliament, 4 points. Quarreling when you talk to we, 6 points. Interfering with people money, lost work. And if you listen very good to me, mister, you can't get back your license from Transport Commissioner. Plenty police and them, plenty politician go be in plenty pain. No more flashing blue light for them fellas again. Oh God.
Did you have an awesome night? Did you have an awesome night? Give yourselves a round of applause. We want to thank you, Savita, and I would like to thank you on behalf of our political leader and the governance team of the NTA for being here tonight. We want to thank all of you online, and I did promise you a treat. Guess what it is? Refreshments, doubles, mon, doubles. And of course, those who are double parked, please get to your vehicles as soon as possible, but make sure and get your refreshments. All right? So, PEE 4575, we ask you to remove your vehicle. Political leader, you were dynamic. Each and every one of you.